Welcome to America's Heroes Group. This time our Roundtable community outreach with LULAC. That's the League of United Latin American Citizens. Today is Saturday, October 21st, 2023. October is Breast Cancer, Mental Health, National Disability, and Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Our host is Kelley. I'm Sean Claiborne, the co-host, Army National Guard veteran. Our executive producer is Glenda Smith. Our digital media producer is Ivan Ortega of Scotch Honor Productions. And we have a partner with us again today. That's Danitza D. James. He's a U.S. Army Iraq combat veteran and CEO of Repatriate, our Patriots, and Subcommittee Veterans Chair for LULAC. We have a panelist with us today, also, Amanda Schuft. She is a legal service director with Immigrants Defenders Law Center in Los Angeles, California. We're going to talk about that kind of troublesome situation we have with immigrants, defenders, and the law. How are you doing today? No, Danitza?
Hi, Sean. I'm doing great. Yes, how are you doing? Thank you for having us.
It's my pleasure. And how you doing, Amanda?
Hi, good afternoon. Good to be here. Thank you.
So, man, I want to start with you, and Danitza, you can chime in on this as well. My first question is basically, what is illegal versus undocumented versus migrant? Give us some definitions here. Is it proper to say the word illegal versus undocumented? What's the difference between the two?
They describe the same thing. I think that, using the term illegal denotes that a human being is illegal by existing. And I think, that's not a good term to use to describe any person. And so undocumented is a different way to say that. But I do think that some people don't really like that term anymore. A migrant is just someone who's, migrating from one place to another. And so the situation at the border, what they're referring to is people coming from different parts of the world where they're facing a lot of violence and insecurity, or, for other reasons too. But largely, what's going on with the migrant situation right now is related to the gang violence in Central America.
Now, tell us about the work you do at Defenders Law Center.
So we are a nonprofit based in Southern California, and we represent people who are in immigration court proceedings. So the government is trying to remove them. People from all different types of situations can find themselves in that situation. And we also have a program dedicated to representing deported veterans. And we represent veterans who've been deported in post-conviction relief as well as in immigration. And so we started that program about 4 years ago, just doing post-conviction relief, which is going in and attacking the legal validity of a conviction. A lot of what we do is based on the fact that people, going through criminal proceedings to give up their right to a trial need to be advised of all of the consequences that will come with taking a plea or, going forward with trial. And in a lot of places, and in the past, the consequence of convictions can be deportation. And often those consequences aren't explained.
So are your clients mostly people who are here illegally, but then get in trouble with the law, then they face deportation because of that? Or who are your clients?
Well, not specific to deported veterans, anybody who is in the United States that doesn't have a valid immigration status, the government could try to deport them. It's not just criminal matters that can make someone removable from the United States. So being present in the United States without documentation is the basis for removal. And there's a lot of people who in this country who've lived here for a very long time, and it is not easy to get immigration status. For a lot of people. There are a lot of bars related to length of time being here. If your initial entry wasn't with a visa, and yes, interactions with the criminal justice system can make people deportable as well, including, someone who's been a lawful permanent resident, who's been a veteran, who's been deployed, who is honorably discharged, could be put in removal proceedings for a simple possession of a controlled substance. So yes, criminal matters as well, but there are a lot of different reasons that someone could end up working without authorization, many other things.
Danitza, can you explain this? So if a person's been here in the United States for, say, most of their life, maybe they came over here when they were a child and they grew up here, they still may be undocumented per se because they weren't born here. How do they? When does it come up? Is it easy to join the military not being undocumented?
No. So actually, in order to join the military, you have to be a legal permanent resident. So meaning a lot of people know this as having a green card, and you have to be eligible to work. So you have to have an immigration status in order to join the military service.
But then if you get into any kind of trouble after you get out into the military, then that's when you run the risk of being deported.
Correct. So the goal is, and this happens to a lot of service members when they're recruited, they are told that they can obtain their citizenship or naturalization while in service. However, the Department of Defense and military branches do not offer. They offer a pathway, but there is no specific program or office that maintains accountability of those actions actually taking place. And that's where the problem comes in, right? Because service members, they join, they're conducting a mission, they want to, they're just really following orders and just taking care of the job that they have to do. And if they're not given the time or the guidance and mentorship to be able to obtain their naturalization, which it entails, they have to fill out paperwork. They have to go through interviews and things like that, right? It's not automatic.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't happen automatically. Like, for example, in my case, I was deployed to Iraq twice, and due to deployment and going back and forth at the end of my deployments and redeploying again, I missed my naturalization ceremonies, and I was not able to obtain my citizenship while in service.
Wow.
So, yes. And that's because our leadership did not see that as a priority, right, and something important that they needed to allow me to attend, to take care of it. And when I left the military, I still had legal permanent resident status, but my green card was expired. And I had, at that time, that was in 2006, and at that time I didn't know that there was a law that even that made that possible, right, for deportation. I was able to apply for my naturalization because my husband was in the military. So I applied as a military spouse, and that's how I received my citizenship, not because of my service, but
Wow.
because of my husband's service.
Wow. One thing I found that was amazing, Amanda, is that 2/3 of all undocumented immigrants who've been in the United States, most of them have been in the United States for more than 10 years. 2/3 of the, I guess, that's what the Pew Research shows. How does someone stay on the radar for so long, Amanda?
Well, I think that, you can pay taxes without having a social security number. You can pay taxes with a tax identification number. And so it's not even like everybody's completely under the radar. And the IRS is taking people's money in taxes. People are working, people are living their lives. And people are part of the community. It's good for the community. It's good for the economy to have people contributing in that way. And it's not the reality of yes, people, of course, they have their, in an insecure situation where it is possible that, like, if you're undocumented, the government can initiate removal proceedings against you. But without sometimes triggering some kind of interaction with the Department of Homeland Security, it just doesn't happen. But yeah, there could be certain situations where you just, like what we've seen over the past few years, or a father dropping their kid off at school gets, someone calls ICE, or people go to certain type of legal proceedings that might not even be criminal related, and they're apprehended by ICE. So it is living under the radar in some senses, but not in every sense.
Mm-hmm. So is ICE vigilant? As I remember a few years ago, I think it was under the Obama administration, that ICE was really, really active in trying to find undocumented people. Are they still as vigilant as they were a few years ago? How have they been in the last couple of years?
Well, I think during the previous administration and when family separation became an official policy of that administration, and people started seeing pictures and videos of parents being separated from their children, and that really expanded awareness of the immigration situation in the United States, and what enforcement does to people, what enforcement does to families. And it's, how state and local governments react to that is very different across the country. And, we've seen that with the busing of migrants from some states to other states and things like that. But there are places where local governments have said, okay, we're no longer going to cooperate with ICE because we don't want our residents to live under that fear. So there are things going on, and then there's going to be other places where local law enforcement agencies are going to be more likely to cooperate with ICE and doing things like simply pulling people over on the basis of their race and, contacting ICE. And so I think that enforcement trends, as far as ICE nationwide, it can depend to some degree on the local governments. And then the current administration has made a priority for ICE to enforce immigration more towards people who have certain types of convictions rather than people who don't.
Mm. Now, I've seen, like in Chicago, we've had tons of people that's camped outside of police stations because they have nowhere else to go. What is most likely to happen? Is this common across the United States? Are other states seeing this same kind of influx of people trying to find a place to stay, and they're using the police stations as, I guess, that's the only place where they can really go? And what's going to happen to these people, from your view?
I actually don't know about that, and I haven't heard of that happening in California. So people are coming to police stations to take refuge from, like, immigration enforcement? Is that what you're saying is happening in Chicago?
I honestly don't know. If you drive down any police station in Chicago today, and that's why the mayor of Chicago was going to go down to the border. Actually, he had planned a trip to the border to try to address this issue, but it was canceled. He sent an envoy instead. We have tens of people camped outside the police stations all across the city. And that's, I guess, a place where they can get some kind of asylum or some kind of refuge or some kind of help. People will come by and give them food. Nonprofits start trying to support them. It's been very controversial in the city here in Chicago. So I was curious to see what happens in other states. Where do these people go when they're being bused to all these different parts of the country?
Well, I think it depends on how the local government reacts to it. Our organization is very involved with trying to support people who are being bused into Southern California, or people who are being released at the border without any resources to get their final destination. A lot of people are traveling to connect with their family members. So it's just a matter of trying to arrange transportation, fund transportation, and then, of course, people need to eat, get some food along the way. And then where people don't have a place to go, trying to figure out where they might be able to go. But the response to that is largely going to depend on what's available. In Southern California, there might be more resources than in some other places. In Chicago, I don't know a lot about what exactly is going on there, but so that's I think that's a lot more related to what's going on with the migrants rather than people who are able to enter the United States to apply for asylum.
And is it hard? Is it hard for someone to get asylum? Because these people are coming from countries where we're hearing stories where their lives are in danger, they're being threatened by the cartels, or they're literally, if they go back to these countries, for a lot of people, that's a death sentence, from what I understand.
So it's really hard to win an asylum claim, because asylum law was developed in response to what happened during World War II, and so asylum is claiming that in the United States, a refugee is just, you are able to establish this while you're still in the country or outside of the United States where you are coming from, but you have to prove that you were persecuted or will be persecuted on account of, so you have to prove that the basis for that persecution or future persecution is your race, your religion, your nationality, your political opinion, or your membership in a particular social group that's recognized within the society. And so that's, obviously what happened during World War II, the Holocaust, and then, after World War II during the Cold War, political opinion. And that's not really the reality of the world that we live in today, where there is large-scale violence going on that isn't necessarily directly targeted to someone's religion or their race or their political opinion.
Wow. I really appreciate you guys. Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, I was just going to say, so for teenagers, right, who are getting recruited by gangs and they have really no other choice in those places but to flee or to get recruited or to get killed, there's the reason for the persecution isn't what the same reason how asylum was developed. So it is a hard case to win, but yeah.
Wow.
Happy to talk about
just ran out of time.
Veterans too.
Yeah. We're out of. We gotta have come back and get more, so we get more into the veteran situation. But it's such a big issue, and I wanted to touch on those topics as well. Amanda, really appreciate your time. But Danitza, as always, thank you for coming on our show.
Thank you, Sean.
This is America's Heroes Group. We'll be right back. Welcome back to America's Heroes Group, this time with our Roundtable and our partner, the Pink Beret. Today is Saturday, October 21st, 2023. October is Breast Cancer, Mental Health, National Disability, and Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Our host is Kelley. I'm Sean Claiborne, the co-host. Our executive producer is Glenda Smith. Our digital media producer is Ivan Ortega of Scout to Honor Productions. And we have our panelist with us today, and that is Jeanine McNeill. She's a U.S. Army veteran and Pink Beret's Regional Program Director of Services and MST Services in Wyoming, Virginia. Is that right? Wyoming, Virginia? We're going to talk about the Pink. What is that? That says
Wyoming.
Yeah, we have that some reading on the screen. I guess that's wrong. So correct us. What is it supposed to say?
I'm sorry. Could you say that again?
What is it supposed to say? What your story? The MST services in where is this, in Wyoming or Virginia, or where is it supposed to be?
Oh, our MST services through the Pink Berets. We are based out of San Antonio, Texas.
Okay.
That's where the organization began. I am located in Sheridan, Wyoming, and because of the powerful work that the Pink Berets have done, I am fortunate enough to actually work very closely with female veterans, doing one-on-one peer services for MST.
Okay. All right. So tell us a little bit more about what your work is, and also like some of the things you have going on in your program.
Okay. My work, I work for the VA, and I am the Women Veteran Programs Peer Support, and what that is primarily functions on is helping female veterans on their healing journey through military sexual trauma. It's just one of those things that we bury deep inside for a lifetime. And we have that programming now in place. The VA is working very hard to get that up and running to actually accommodate both male and females. And as far as the Pink Berets go, our wonderful CEO, Stephanie, started this when she was in the beginning of her healing journey, and there was nothing available for female veterans. So,
now, how pervasive is MST today, would you say? Has progress been made as far as a culture in the military?
You know, sadly, we do, well, let me see how to put it. We have a class for our psychologist interns, and I have actually implemented military sexual trauma into the military culture because it is so prominent within the military. It's just something that is very frequent now, and it is affecting both male and females.
And then with the change in the military culture, or the change in military, I should say procedures, where now third parties are being used to try cases or to look and investigate instances of sexual assault or sexual abuse. How do you feel that has helped the situation?
I feel that it is making a difference. Before, there was no such thing as a task force for military sexual trauma. Through the years that we've been fighting for this recognition and making the government realize that this is a dire problem with the military, they have implemented a lot of programs to protect the victims of military sexual trauma and to recognize that it is a severe problem. And now having outside sources protects the victims even more. There's someone that's not judgmental and is protecting those inside sources, those higher ups that are actually the perpetrators of the military sexual trauma.
And how does one heal? So when you have, I know the Pink Beret specializes in doing certain programs and having people kind of overcome this traumatic experience. What are the ways that you do that?
Well, we offer more of a holistic approach to healing. We have programs that we just started this fabulous archery program. One of the ladies is a competitive archery champion, and she found her healing through archery. So we do now offer that as a healing alternative. We offer art classes. We offer therapeutic through theatrics. We have a lot of different and unique types of programming that we collaborate on year after year, and we fine-tune those. We also do have a psychologist that is on board with us to assist us, and some phenomenal peer support where we share our stories to let our fellow sisters know that you can overcome this.
And are you guys directly connected to the VA, or are you guys kind of just using some of the VA facilities for different resources?
Currently, no, we are not. We are not affiliated with the VA at all. Hopefully someday in the future we will be, yes.
So tell me about your journey in the military. What was your experience like in the military? And what are some of the things that you learned and would you like to see changed in the military culture?
Well, when I joined, which was back in 1983, I'm part of that where we were really fighting to make a difference in the world, I think. And I really just wanted to do something that was not the norm for a female to do. So I enlisted in the service. Of course, I was naive, being from that generation and not having access to social media back in that time. You don't really know what the world is like. And so I threw myself in there, and life happened. My situation happened, and just to give you a little insight on how life was back then, when I told my mom of my circumstance, what happened when I was in schooling, my mom instantly said, well, you put yourself in a man's world. I don't. Yeah.
How did that make you feel when she said that?
Oh my word. Because of the training that we all go through, we are trained to be tough. So it was, you just need to carry on and do this. It made me feel like my mom was right. I deserved this, because back then in the early 80s, I didn't belong in the military. That was not where a woman should be. Daggone it, I was fighting to stay in. So.
But the ironic thing about it is that to make a strong military, we do need a cohesive and diverse fighting force. So it's going to require at many levels, women, men, people of all, languages and ethnicities coming together to get a mission done, because we have different experiences. We have different expertise, and we also have different things we bring to the table. That's one of the reasons why
Absolutely.
I think our military is so strong, is because we are so diverse.
I absolutely agree. And women, I feel, and it's also been stated by the male counterparts, we are very strong. A woman going into the military has to continuously fight. We have to prove that we can do specific jobs, and now it's become so open that women are given so many wonderful opportunities to be a part of such a beautiful entity and do more male dominated positions. So we have come a long way, and even though we're survivors of military sexual trauma, we have all played a very vital role in the history of women in the military. And that's where we get our pride from, knowing that we've made our sacrifices so that women can continue going into the military, and hopefully sometime in the very near future they can be safe in the military. That's what we fight for.
Now, I don't know if you're a mother or not, but if you had a daughter, would you want your daughter to join the military today? Would if she said to you, "I want to join the military and be, and join the Army or the Air Force," what would you say to her?
You know, this question, this brings back a couple of years, and I actually was just beginning with the Pink Berets at that time. My granddaughter found a BDU cap. She thought it was mine from when I was in the military, so she sent me a picture of herself stating, "I'm wearing my crown." And, I thought, my BDU cap? And she says, "Yes, this is, I'm the queen with this hat on." So I called, I was texting her at that time, and then I called her and I said, "Tell me more about why you're feeling this way." And she says, "Noni, it was so cool that you were in the Army." And she is very, very enamored with women in the military. And that scared me. That put me to a point where I wrote a story and I submitted it off to another organization, and I said, we need to fight, because we do have our daughters, we do have our granddaughters and our nieces that may follow in our footsteps because they are proud of what we've done, but we need to fight to make it a safer place. So that was my experience with that. I don't know if that's what she plans on doing, but now there's so many females that have been through this circumstance that I'm hoping in the future that there's some sort of a task force where we have an opportunity to speak to those young ladies that would like to make the military a part of their life.
It kind of reminds me of like when you have the way you described your conversation with your granddaughter, the way that a lot of African American families, the conversation that mothers and fathers give their sons about police brutality or about violence in the streets and things like that. Like you have to you have that talk where you basically let them know that, hey, the world's not as safe and as maybe you would like it to be, and maybe not as fair as you would like it to be. So do you feel yourself having that kind of conversation with her if she decided to go into the military?
Yes, definitely. And my granddaughter is very aware that I was assaulted when I was in the service. So I kept that a very open and honest conversation with her. I actually think it's made her more proud of not only her grandmother, but all of the women that I'm affiliated with, because she knows, especially the Pink Berets is an organization that is there for the survivor of MST, so she knows that we are all of that community, and she knows we're very, very strong women. So I think that makes her a little bit more proud because she does talk about it, and she loves just the things that we do as an organization and how we are bold on stating we are proud of where we've come in our journey and proud of everything that we have survived.
Wow. What do you want to take the Pink Berets going forward?
I want us, we definitely are pushing to be a nationwide organization with living out here in Wyoming, and I've been in Wyoming for about 2.5 years or so. We have about 5,000 female veterans in this state, and we have no organizations that are representative for female veterans only. So I myself out here, and with the assistance of Stephanie and our team, we are working to mirror the Pink Berets of what they do in San Antonio. We're working to mirror it out here in Wyoming. We are very, very spread out. Sadly, it's 200 to 250 miles to reach another city in Wyoming, if you want to consider our population a city, as we are very underpopulated here in Wyoming. But we've gotten a few things up and going. We sponsor a horse out here that provides therapy for not only veterans but children and adults that have mental and physical disabilities. It's very therapeutic for them. We've put back into the community by sponsoring some of our aging people, by providing Christmas presents and that kind of stuff. So we run into people from different states that really want to see the Pink Berets in their state. So we're just going to keep driving to make us nationwide.
And I think that's a great mission because you have a lot of opportunity, I think, especially in the states that, like you mentioned, they have a female population of veterans but don't have all the VSOs that we have in some of the other states. Like in Chicago, there's tons of VSOs. I'm sure in Texas there's probably a ton of stuff going on in Texas, but with a state like Wyoming, maybe with the population being a little bit, it's not as densely populated as California or maybe Texas. So maybe, that's a great opportunity to try to get the Pink Berets and other even the VSOs to get out there and start making a difference in people's lives.
Yes, that is our goal. We definitely, the programming that we have is beautiful, and it comes from a group of women, and we also have men that are involved with the organization, just because they have found it so impactful to work with women that are survivors of MST, they want to be a part of our growth. And I feel it's definitely going to happen. And I know that, Stephanie and team works very hard. It's just reaching people. And that's the hardest part is getting the word out about us, especially when you're out in such a spread out state such as definitely Wyoming, Montana. We're all pretty rural.
Is it hard to recognize veterans? Because a lot of times, particularly females, females don't usually say that we're in the military. That's one thing I noticed. They don't really. It's not something that they broadcast very often. Like guys usually wear. You'll see a bumper sticker. You'll see a hat or whatever. You'll see something. But with women, it's not usually not the case.
That's very true. And a lot of the reason is because we were victims of something that we never expected to happen to us. So I know that myself and a lot of my sisters within the Pink Berets organization, we all went through a time where we were not going to ever state we were a veteran.
Wow.
There was so much, we were subjected to so much humility that it was something that we were not proud of. It takes being on this part of our healing journey to get back our dignity and to tell our story and to be proud of our story and where we've come on this journey and to really value our place in history.
Now tell us, when you first started using VA services, did you find that they were adequate to try to help you overcome the trauma that you experienced?
No. I know that was a quick answer.
To the point.
It was no. And this is why the Pink Berets exist, because of that. We just were not recognized. It's hard for the whole concept of the military and the VA to recognize that there is a huge difference between a male and a female. We have different needs, both mentally and physically. And I will tell you, though, and now I do utilize the VA, but in the very beginning, the vet centers offered a lot more for females. The VA is working very hard to change how the females view the VA. It has been, for lack of better words, it has been a man's world, and they are working diligently to get away from that because it's not a man's world. So you're dealing with a very diverse collaboration of human beings now, and they need to accommodate that, and they really are trying. And I'm very fortunate to be part of the new thinking of the VA because of the position that I have. I'm so active in new programming for women, and not only do I protect women, I do protect my male counterparts that are survivors of MST as well, because they need special care too, and I fight on their behalf as well to make sure that they are recognized for that. So
now you're in charge of MST services in Wyoming. Is that and the VA there, is that common amongst VAs around the country, or is that something you had to start?
Oh, I wish I had the honor of being in charge of MST. However, I'm not a clinician, so I cannot be in charge of the programming. But as a peer and as a veteran, especially as a female veteran, they do take my experience into consideration, and they actually listen to my perspective on things. Instead of it being a straight clinical thing, they are actually listening to the female veterans. And the VA now works very hard to get all of these little subcommittee groups that listen to female veterans and listen to what we need. And as far as MST programming goes, they're working hard to get more things up and running, as far as like their inpatient programming goes, and just having things for outpatient veterans as well, to keep the healing journey going and enabling our veterans to grow mentally and physically as well.
So that leads me to my last question. We kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, which is, should the VA be using or leaning on VSOs more frequently to attack these very specific things like MST or PTSD or things like that? Because a lot of times the VSOs are so specialized. Like what the Pink Berets do is you specialize in something very specific.
Mm-hmm. That one, I think in any aspect, collaboration is the best. No matter how we look at it and what entity is what, whether it's the VA, the Vet Center, the VSOs, we're all working for one thing, and that's the veteran. And collaboration is key to the promotion of health. And I know that within the VA itself, there is now a lot more collaborating between different departments within the VA to get a different type of programming for our veterans. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah. Yes. So basically, I would say from what you just described, leaning into it a little bit more, collaborating, I think is something that the VSOs and the VA can both benefit from. Because, like I said, the VSO seems to be taking a lead on a lot of very specific things around the country. And the work that you guys do at the Pink Berets, I think that expertise and that knowledge from firsthand experience, you basically have the program that the VA probably needs when you think about it.
Yes. And I think I think what's so special about the Pink Berets is we utilize our own experiences and we discuss things amongst each other on different ways of putting programming together.
Sorry to cut you off, Jeanine. We have to cut it short because we're running out of time.
Okay.
We got to have you back for sure, though. Thanks for your time and also all the great information you've told us about.
Oh, well, thank you for having us on. It's very much an honor to be able to speak about the Pink Berets.
Pleasure's all ours. This is America's Heroes Group. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Cliff Kelley, Vietnam veteran, co-founder, and host of America's Heroes Group. We have helped hundreds and thousands of veterans find the resources they needed to move on past trauma, find the services they need to heal, find training, jobs, and housing. That's our mission. To support this mission so that we can continue our work and have even more veteran stories of overcoming and success, we need your help. Right now, please consider making a donation to America's Heroes Group. Dig deep and give what you can to support this mission and help those veterans in need. You can donate through Chase Bank's Zelle app by adding America's Heroes Group as a recipient with our phone number 312-804-5831. You can donate through PayPal on our website, americashg.org. From the home page, go to donations, or you can go straight to www.americashg.org/donations. And finally, you can send a check to America's Heroes Group, Inc., 155 North Quaker Drive, Suite 4250, Chicago, Illinois, 60606.
We have in our chase bags, we have a care package of hygiene, we have shaving equipment, we have razors, and for the women we have the same personal hygiene items for them as well. And we want to say thank you for their service. This is Chase Bank. Thank you very much. People in the neighborhood, free haircuts, and service and food. Look good. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your service. Thank you, ma'am. Okay.
On behalf of Cliff Kelley, America's Heroes Group, we sincerely thank Chase Bank for coming where it matters to help homeless veterans have a hot meal today and a care package. We are sincerely grateful for this partnership. Yeah.
Welcome to America's Heroes Group. Hear your voice where we connect the disconnected intentionally.
Who is Cliff Kelley, the governor of talk radio, the icon of radio throughout the world.
Chauncey Spencer II and I, again, share a special relationship. His late great father, Tuskegee Airman Chauncey E. Spencer, took me as a child on my first airplane ride.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is something that people need to see. Often we don't, do the things to show how great our people are. It changes the paradigm of how people think about us, about the collective consciousness of what it means to be us.
And we've been having great conversations about trying to get more African Americans into aviation. And we got a bill that we're trying to get passed that would allow the Pell Grant to be used to help finance aviation education.
Where I started with this entire conversation by saying, if it were not for America's Heroes Group, I would have given up. So I want to get all my accolades out the way on behalf of America's Heroes Group. Ms. Glenda, thank you. Thank you for encouraging me to press on. I would encourage you all to support this organization. One thing for sure, America's Hero Group is out there. Ms. Glenda will take the time. Ms. Glenda Smith will take the time to listen to you and to steer you in the direction that you need to go.
Thank you for watching another episode of America's Heroes Group, where we provide education about resources and information for our veterans, military, and their family.
Welcome back to America's Heroes Group, the Roundtable Community Outreach with the Red Cross. Today is Saturday, October 21st, 2023. October is Breast Cancer, Mental Health, Natural Disability, and Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Our host is Cliff Kelley. I'm Sean Claiborne, the co-host, Army National Guard veteran. Our executive producer is Glenda Smith. Our digital media producer is Ivan Ortega of Scouts Honor Productions. And we have a panelist with us, that's Christy Giles. She's a senior volunteer recruitment specialist responsible for a diverse and talented volunteer workforce throughout Central Maryland, my home state. Bernardo Vega, a Baltimore City disaster program manager with extensive experience in disaster relief operations, mass care, sheltering, logistics, and planning. How you guys doing today?
Doing great today. Thank you.
How you doing, Ronaldo?
Oh, doing good. Having a great day. Thank you for having me.
Our pleasure. So now tell us about what's going on with the Red Cross and blood shortage, and how urgent is this blood shortage that we have right now?
Yeah, so for the, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Christy. I apologize.
Go ahead, Ray.
No, go ahead. I had dropped off a little bit. I came back in a little late.
Excellent. Well, yeah, thank you for asking about that, because right now there really is an urgent need for all types of blood to be donated. We know that there's no way to have blood for all of the needs. Every 2 seconds, somebody in the United States needs blood or plasma. So in order for that to be available for chronic illnesses, for surgeries, for accident victims, for sickle cell disease treatment, we need folks to come on out and donate blood. There's definitely an urgent need now, and we're asking folks to come on out and join us to donate blood. We actually have a campaign going on right now where those who donate by November 9th can receive a thank you e-gift for $10 to the merchant of their choice. So a little something to entice people to join us in giving life-saving blood.
Now, Ronaldo, why is there such a shortage? I mean, when I drive down the streets of Chicago and I see all these different clinics that are popping up, these little blood donation centers like Plasma CSL and all these different ones, you know, they're all over the place. How is there still a shortage of blood? Ronaldo?
So I'm gonna so for the blood questions, I'm gonna defer to my colleague here, Christy. I'm on the disaster cycle services side. I'd be more than happy to jump in on that. But for the blood, I'm going to go ahead and let Christy handle that.
Okay, Christy. Tell us a little more background about. So where did this shortage come from?
Yeah, well, I too am not an expert in blood services. I'm in volunteer services, but it's a real passion of mine. I started my kind of association with the Red Cross while I was in school and college. Joined a group of friends heading on down to a blood drive and have been a lifelong blood donor ever since, and a one-time blood recipient. So I myself have been impacted by generous blood donations. But the truth of the matter is that the great percentage of those folks who are eligible to donate don't. It's not something that everybody does here in the United States. So we really do need more people to step up and become regular, consistent blood donors. And I think also, it's very timely. You have to make sure you have a constant supply of blood coming on in. And anytime we've got large-scale disasters and things going on in the U.S., it can disrupt some of the blood drives. So other areas then do have to step up to meet that need and to meet that demand. So summertime months do tend to be a little less because, like myself, who went to a school blood drive, a lot of our larger drives are at various schools. So sometimes that slows down a bit. So in the fall, it's time to now have, to renew the interest and encourage people to come on out so that we can meet our daily demands of blood.
So, Ronaldo, can you tell us a little bit about some of the dangers of not having enough blood when you have these mass disasters and things like that, when you have to, try to plan for a natural disaster or plan around recovery?
Yes, absolutely. So, as Christy said, what happens is a lot of times, blood does have an expiration date. So it is one of those things. It's not like we can collect blood and then store it until the next disaster happens. A lot of times it's about being able having donors really throughout all periods, just in case something does happen. And again, with disasters, we never know when that's going to happen. We never know when we're going to need blood, when we're not. There's really, it's hard to gauge. So the idea is to have a steady supply of donors that will come out and donate for us. And again, very important, if we find ourselves in a situation where there is a blood shortage, ultimately, lives are put more at risk. And ultimately, the Red Cross mission is to alleviate human suffering. So ideally, we want to be able to support any one of our partners when there is a need for blood. So definitely very important, that we're up to date with that.
Now, does Red Cross handle disasters around the world? Is that correct? You guys step in and do things all over the world.
Yeah. So there is a international federation, of course, and then from there, every country has their own branch. So for us, it would be the American Red Cross, who does support the international committee. So ultimately, it is a complete network that does respond worldwide.
One of our listeners wanted to ask this question because they didn't know, and I didn't know the answer really either. There's a lot of our blood that we collect in the United States go to overseas to help the issue, like say for example what's going on maybe in Israel or what's going on in Ukraine. But does our blood go into these types of global situations?
So without getting too into, go ahead, Krista. Did you have this one?
I was going to say, as far as I'm aware, no. We have blood processing facilities all throughout the country, and there are transportation concerns of moving blood from one location to another. As Ray points out, it's got a shorter shelf life, so you want to make sure that you've got a close supply of blood. So yeah.
I was curious even myself because the person that asked this question, they were a veteran. They wanted to know, if you're going overseas and you're deployed, where does the blood come from for our soldiers and people that need it overseas? Is it coming from us? Is it coming from there? I mean, because you can't, like you mentioned, you can't store it forever. So how long does blood normally last? So how long can you store blood?
Yeah, that is a great question. I don't know the answer to what's going on overseas, but I can say for platelets, it's about 5 days, and just over 40 for red blood cells that it'll last and be viable and useful.
Now, can you tell us the difference between plasma and blood? I know there's a thing, and is one thing more important? Do you need more donors for one versus the other? How does that work? Christy,
right. Well, my biology degree is kicking in here. When we refer to blood, we're referring to red blood cells specifically, and then the plasma is the fluid that makes all those blood cells be traveling along as a liquid form, and has lots of nutrients and other ingredients in there. And then the platelets are those cells that help with the clotting factors and will heal. So it's all important, and anytime somebody's making a donation, it's all going to be blood donation. It's all going to be very essential and put into good use.
Now, I'll ask both of you this question, starting with you, Christy. What can veteran service organizations, what can churches do, what can people do to try to meet this demand for blood?
Yeah, well, get the word out. Share information about the importance, kind of like we're doing today, the importance of blood donations and the need for folks to step up and donate blood. If people are interested, they can go to our website, redcrossblood.org, and take a look and find out when the next blood drive is and when the next available appointment. And they can register today to donate. And that would be great.
Now, is it hard to find volunteers, Christy?
So, yes and no. People are fabulous at stepping up and becoming a part of the Red Cross. My work focuses on raising awareness for all of our Red Cross volunteer opportunities, so not just supporting blood donations, but also supporting disaster relief. That is a really big part of what we do in the Red Cross, and it's become a line of service that's become more and more active. Ray can talk a little bit more about how we specifically respond locally. But we are, just like there's an urgent need for blood, there is an urgent need for volunteers to step up, train, and be on call to support our disaster relief opportunities. Most of the disasters we respond to are home fires. So those are disasters that happen locally, right in our own communities, not just, in the areas where hurricanes are going to hit and wildfires. So we have active teams of disaster responders within each community, and that's really where we're looking to grow and raise our volunteer crews.
Ronaldo, what can you add to that? What can we do as citizens and as veterans to help the Red Cross?
Absolutely, and I think outside of giving blood when we're having the opportunity to do so, I would say maybe be an ambassador for blood donation in general. Before we even get to the Red Cross, we would love for you to donate with the Red Cross, but we definitely, I think one of the big pushes is we want to get rid of that those questions of where does the blood go to, what do they do with it, or what's going on. Essentially, there's people in need of blood. Whether it be the platelets, the plasma, they save people's lives, So essentially we need, again, the mission is to alleviate human suffering, and that's what we aim to do. So I would say be a blood donation ambassador. I would encourage everyone to maybe do a little more research and how that works. Do your own research. That way you can feel good and pass that on to the community. Everyone around you, let them know, blood donors are needed. We have a shortage of blood right now. Just kind of even sparking that conversation has the power to just go, a very long way over. I think if we were to get just that, that initial kind of thing going among everyone, out of our armed forces, but that's something that would be very easy to do. Just kind of do some research, spread the word. Hey, let's help each other. And then from there, it just grows from there. I think the awareness would grow from that. I think once people are more educated on it, I think they'll be more empowered to come out and donate, which again, full circle, we come back to helping those in need.
Christy, can you tell us how easy is it to donate blood? What's the process like? So someone wants to call the Red Cross or call a donation center. They want to donate. What's the process going to be like for them?
Yeah, so once the appointment has been set up, it takes about an hour from start to finish in terms of coming on in, signing in. We have Rapid Pass, which can be done on a cell phone, and it's a system of questions that work through your history, just general information, so you can take care of that in advance before you even come into the blood drive. So you can do that at your convenience the day of. And then there'll be a quick medical screen of just checking out your iron levels and asking if there's any questions about your medical history and your information that you've filled out. And then about 10 minutes on the table of doing the actual blood donation. And then we send you over to the hospitality or the cantina area, where you get to have a little bit of juice and cookies and recharge and reflect on all the wonderful good that you've done. And that's it. It's a simple procedure, about an hour or so of your time, and it can really have a big impact in saving the lives of other people.
This is a question for either one of you. I'm not sure which one's better suited for this question, but who is typically your ideal donor? Is there any particular demographic that tends to donate more? Maybe veterans or maybe seniors, or who's the people that you normally target to get to donate?
I don't have any data about that. I know that when I go to the blood drive and look around, you'll see all sorts of, all ages and all demographics of people. There really is that I know of, no ideal. We're all humans. We all have blood. We do, check for certain medications, and, you have to be in good health. Certain medications that may cause a deferral, that's all available on the website. but otherwise, we've all got blood, so all humans.
So everybody should be donating blood.
Yeah, as long as you're in good health.
Yeah, and I do want to add, as far as for donating blood, we have donation centers throughout the country. It's as simple as making an appointment. And then throughout the country, we have regions, and within those regions, we have what's called humanitarian chapters. Each one of those humanitarian chapters have an executive director within that chapter. If you have an organization that is interested in doing a blood drive, you would just contact your local executive director. Essentially, we would just need a point of contact and then a certain amount of donors that would sign up. So let's say you have an organization, you guys have about 30 people that say, 20 to 30 people say, hey, we want to donate blood to the Red Cross. We can definitely work towards having a blood drive at a set location for that group.
That's
so I just wanted
amazing.
to.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's good information because that means that anybody, like a church organization, a school possibly, or America's Heroes Group, we could have a blood drive, and if we get enough people together, say, hey, let's all donate blood. It's a national crisis. We need to make sure that we have blood out there for people that are that need it. We can just call you guys up, and then do you guys then from that point take care of everything else, and we just show up to give the blood, or do we have to get volunteers to help out? How does that work?
Yeah, so once the event is set up, we work to get volunteers. So let's say you call us and say, hey, I have 30 of my colleagues here. We're ready to have a blood drive. We get everything set up on whatever agreed date. We show up. We bring the equipment. We bring the volunteers. We take care of everything. Everyone, essentially from the group, all they have to do is show up, register, donate blood, and they are all set. We will take care of everything else.
Wow. Chris, anything you want to add to that?
Yep, we supply the cookies. It is all set. We do want to make it, easy and convenient for people. We appreciate people giving their time to donate, so we make sure that is a smooth process for folks to be able to work together to put on a blood drive. Yes.
It seems like because when you express the need, it seems like that we should be doing this more often as far as having more blood drive events, because it's such an important thing. I mean, you need blood to survive. I'm thinking about people who've been in car accidents, people who are, like you said, a fire, people also, unfortunately, there's, everything from gun violence to all kinds of natural disasters just in the United States alone. So have you seen an uptick in donations since you've been getting out this campaign, Christy?
So yes, we have seen an uptick in the blood donations. It's been very positive. There's been great response for folks, but it needs to continue because, as we've talked about, that it's ongoing and it's a constant need.
And one more time, Ronaldo, can you tell us who do we contact if we're interested in donating blood, and what website should we go to in order to get more information?
Yeah, so it's as simple as 1-800-RED-CROSS. So if you dial 1-800-RED-CROSS, you will be connected with your local region, which will then turn you over to your local chapter. And for the website, it's redcross.org. When you arrive on the website, the first thing it's going to ask for is for your zip code for your location. And again, that is going to designate you to your local region and your local humanitarian chapter as well.
Thank you, guys. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I do want to mention one thing. We do have what is the Sickle Cell Initiative, and what it does, we do have a shortage of African American donors in the Red Cross. We would like to increase our African American donors because of sickle cell. What happens is we have sickle cell patients who routinely need blood transfusions, or they go through blood donations. On top of that, there is a bone marrow transfer list to identify potential donors of this. And I think we're doing our best to raise that awareness. I just attended a presentation recently by one of our colleagues. So we are trying to increase the African American donor. So that is something that we are trying to work on. I don't have all the details on that, but I did feel that I should pass that on, on behalf of our colleagues. That is something for the Sickle Cell Initiative that I would encourage everyone to kind of look into, get a little more information on that.
On that
definitely
note,
appreciate that.
We just ran out of time, but thank you for all that information. We got to have you guys back and also talk more about sickle cell and also those shortages and see how we're doing and meeting this need. And we'll think about maybe America's Heroes Group, maybe make call on that number and doing a blood drive of our own.
Thank you so much for having us.
This is America's Heroes
Thank you
Group.
for having us.
We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Cliff Kelley, Vietnam veteran, co-founder, and host of America's Heroes Group. We have helped hundreds and thousands of veterans find the resources they needed to move on past trauma, find the services they need to heal, find training, jobs, and housing. That's our mission. To support this mission so that we can continue our work and have even more veteran stories of overcoming and success, we need your help. Right now, please consider making a donation to America's Heroes Group. Dig deep and give what you can to support this mission and help those veterans in need. You can donate through Chase Bank's Zelle app by adding America's Heroes Group as a recipient with our phone number 312-804-5831. You can donate through PayPal on our website, americashg.org. From the home page, go to donations, or you can go straight to www.americashg.org/donations. And finally, you can send a check to America's Heroes Group, Inc., 155 North Quaker Drive, Suite 4250, Chicago, Illinois, 60606.
Welcome back to America's Heroes Group, this time with a roundtable on our partner, the National Nurses United. Today is Saturday, October 21st, 2023. October is Breast Cancer, Mental Health, National Disability, and Domestic Violence Awareness Month. My host is Cliff Kelley. I'm Sean Claiborne, the co-host. Our executive producer is Glenda Smith. Our digital media producer is Ivan Ortega of Scott's Earner Productions. And I also want to give a thanks to Miss Brown, who donated to our show. Thank you for your support. And we encourage you to also donate to America's Heroes Group to bring you the information that brings you more sound things and sound knowledge about what's going on in the world and also about how we can help veterans. We have a partner with us, Adelina Marshall. She's a Jesse Brown VA mental health nurse. And our panelist, Nancy Carpin. She's an MSN family nurse practitioner and working on a study that is helping us understand how our air quality affects COPD at the Jesse Brown VA. How you guys doing today? You there? Adelina? Nancy? It's like we don't have them on there yet. I see her on the line.
I'm here.
There you are. Perfect. Is this Nancy
yes,
or Adelina?
Sir. This is Nancy.
How are you doing today?
I am fine. This is Cliff Kelley.
This is Sean Claiborne.
Sean Claiborne. Okay, nice to meet you, sir.
My pleasure. So you have a very powerful study going on that's going to look at how air quality and air purifiers or air filters affect people with COPD. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Would you like me to tell you more about the study?
Yes. Tell us about this study and what's going on with this.
So what's happening is that the VA has been recruiting veterans with chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, also called COPD, to enroll in this home air quality study to find out how this home air quality affects veterans with COPD.
So as far as I understand, this is according to the World Health Organization. In 2019, COPD was the third leading cause of death in the world, with 3.2 million deaths, the people that passed that year. American Lung Association says that in 2020, it was the sixth leading cause of death here in the United States, with 150,000 people that passed from COPD in the U.S.
Yeah.
So tell us the importance of this and what you hope to find from the study.
What we are looking to, what we are investigating are these dimensions of care, or how home air quality affects veterans with COPD. And the endpoints, or what we're looking at, is whether or not these HEPA filters, home air filters that we're placing in veterans' home, either decrease the number of COPD exacerbations or ER visits, whether or not this can help improve a veteran's oxygen levels, or if it has any effect on how far you can walk before getting short of breath.
And then tell us about COPD. What exactly is it, and how it affects the body?
COPD is a disease or a condition that affects the lungs and the tissue, and how oxygen passes through that tissue into the blood. Typically, individuals with COPD have a lower oxygen saturation rate because of the disease process that affects the tissue, that oxygen exchange tissues in the lungs. Veterans or any patient with COPD tends to have lower oxygen levels because the process that has caused COPD to be present for that individual has affected or changed the architecture. They refer to it as the architecture of the tissue of the gas exchange capability of that in the lungs.
Now, with the veterans, so the veterans that are going to be volunteering, do they have to have COPD, or is that part of the prerequisites, or how did you select which veterans are in the program and so on?
Yes, according to the inclusion criteria for veterans participating in the study, they would have a diagnosis of COPD. Some individuals aren't aware of the fact that they have this because they may have diagnosis like chronic lung dysfunction or other conditions that don't exactly match up with chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. But if a veteran is interested in the study, I refer that individual to Dr. Alfessi. He's the study coordinator at Jesse Brown. He's also one of our ER docs. And he can review that individual's medical chart to find out whether or not this person meets the criteria to participate in the study.
And you guys are working with the Illinois Institute of Technology, IIT, to actually conduct this in order to get the data and also the research that you're doing?
Yes, we are working with IIT. There are and then IIT, they have the engineering capability to bring the equipment to the veterans' homes, install it, show how to work this, and then they're also obtaining data from, so there's a home air quality filter, a HEPA filter, very high quality, that's being installed in the home, and then there's also an air quality monitor and an electricity data monitor that they're getting data from during the course of the study to find out how this is affecting the air quality in the home.
And how many people are you trying to collect for the study?
80.
80, okay. And then there is also a monetary benefit. They actually get paid to be in the study as well. Is that right?
Yes, they will receive $500 total compensation for participating, and it's paid out in 3 payments over the course of the study.
Now, the HEPA filter you guys chose was a type of filter or a type of filtration system that you guys used. Was there a reason why you picked that over, say, like the ozone or the filters versus the ultraviolet filters that are out there?
I wasn't involved in the actual technology selection, so I don't know what their criteria was based on, but it's an Austin HEPA filter. And if you were to go to, I don't have the model number, forgive me, but I looked it up earlier this year. You can purchase those independently at Home Depot or Menards, I believe it is, and they're $700 to $800. They're very high quality.
Wow.
Yes, it's it's a non-medical treatment for COPD, and one of the reasons they're doing this. The Department of Housing and Urban Development is the funding source for this study, and if this proves to be helpful for treating COPD, they would like to offer this as another treatment option. But we have to do the study to find out, of course, if it's effective.
Now, how do people develop COPD typically? Is it just something that smokers get, or is it other things and factors that might contribute to something like COPD?
I have seen statistics that over 90% of people who develop COPD have been smokers in their life. There are also other occupational exposures, which, like if you're in the military and you're exposed to unhealthy air, and many veterans are, that can also be a contributing factor to the development of COPD.
Because what comes to mind immediately is the burn pits and the situation with how that was with the PACT Act, and how we're starting to take that more serious, and how a lot of veterans have been getting all kinds of different symptoms. What are some of the symptoms specifically about COPD that people could be looking out for if they are worried that they might have COPD?
Shortness of breath, cough, difficulty breathing, phlegm, sputum production, and low oxygen saturation.
Now, are there treatments to this if you have these symptoms? So how do you normally treat this?
There are treatments provided in the pulmonary clinics at Jesse Brown are primarily responsible for treating veterans with COPD. There are medicines that are available, and I forget, I apologize, I didn't come prepared with the names of those medications, but there are some treatments available for COPD medically, so medicine, and then there are some rehab type where they do exercise, things like that, to help improve lung function.
So it's possible if you could do these exercises, it sounds like it's possible to heal your lungs then.
No, I don't want to give that impression. There can be some improvement experience. They can teach you techniques that you can use to help with your breathing. Typically, COPD is not reversible, sir.
Wow. Adelina, have you had a chance to join us? Are you on the line?
Yes, I'm here, and Nancy is giving out a lot of valuable information. COPD is not curable, and it would probably deteriorate over a period of time. But that exercise, treatment, and medication would allow the patient to manage it so that they're in a more comfortable state. A lack of oxygen with COPD can also affect your mood as well as your memory, and it's very important that our patients become aware of this. You can, one of the signs too, you can be short-winded when you're walking, even around the grocery store or around your house, or doing light housework, yard work, and you become short of breath, that can be an indication that you may be experiencing a form of COPD. So Nancy is our expert in this area for us, and she is giving a lot of information on this study and encouraging our veterans, our listening audience, veterans friends, veterans family. Sometimes you are more aware of the issues that may be affecting the veteran than they themselves. So as a loved one, as somebody who's caring for a veteran, somebody who is interacting with a veteran or a family member, if you're seeing these signs and symptoms, encourage them to come in and to at least be tested so that they can be treated and slow down a process that they may be experiencing.
I did a little bit of research, Nancy, before we started this, and one thing that I saw about the reason why I had that question about I was curious about the HEPA filter itself, because I found that there was research and data that shows that that's the right type of filter or filtration system that's best for someone who has like a breathing disorder like asthma or COPD, because ultraviolet can actually be damaging to a person, and ozone, it could actually lead to other breathing problems, from what I understand. And there were studies that found that if you have some of these ozone type filters, I had one in my house. I thought it was, I got it for little or nothing at Home Depot, but actually prolonged exposure to those types of filters, if they're or filtration devices, if they're not used correctly, can actually hurt you for long periods of time. So the HEPA filter seems like it's the best type of filter, and also to encourage our veterans, if you're thinking about getting to do some kind of filtration system on your own, do the research and maybe even get some expert advice. Don't just take my word for it, because I did some research, but get some expert advice about what types of filters are the best for your situation.
Absolutely. And any of the doctors at Jesse Brown, primary care physicians and pulmonary docs as well, would be excellent resources if you're being seen at one of the VAs, to ask them. You can do some of this stuff on your own. I believe there is some research that supports that it improves these outcomes for veterans that are for anyone with COPD at this time. But we're actually, doing this on behalf of HUD to determine future treatment options with this equipment. Mm-hmm.
Now, you mentioned that 90% of people are smokers, usually are the people that have COPD. People that have COPD, 90% of them usually are smokers sometime in their life. Can environmental factors also play a part? They may be in a workplace, or maybe getting secondhand smoke in the house?
Secondhand smoke is a large contributing factor to individuals developing COPD as well. Typically, the folks that I see, the individuals who are enrolling, are actual veterans who've had a history of, say, tobacco use or other inhaled substances. The occupational exposures, and I can't list them all, but you mentioned the burn pits. There are other exposures as well that can lead to lung damage and could be a triggering factor for this complication, this disease process.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. We want to bring to everyone's attention that Nancy is also a veteran, and she's an example of many veterans working in the VA system, Jesse Brown, particularly North Chicago and Hines, that are caring for our veterans and that are looking at these studies. The VA does many studies for many other areas, but this one is very important. All of them are important, but we just want to point out that Nancy, she is also a veteran, and we have veterans caring for veterans.
That's really wonderful, because I think that also helps the recruitment process, I would think, to get people to participate in this study. Have you filled up all 80 spots yet?
We have not. As of last week, the end of last week, we had 63 enrollees. So I'm actively recruiting. We could use another 20. We need a couple extra people if there should be one or two that would decide to exit the study early for one reason or another, which has happened since we've enrolled. But typically I need 17 to hit 80, but having a couple extra probably wouldn't be so bad.
And how do people contact you in order to volunteer?
I have a phone number assigned to me for this study, so this is the number. You ready?
You're ready.
224-817-3602.
Once again, that number, just in case people didn't get it.
224-817-3602.
And how long should this study last?
From the time a veteran or a patient enrolls, they say it's a 12 to 15 month commitment. But here's the deal. There's not a great deal of time that's needed on behalf of the enrollee. There's a half an hour enrollment visit at the VA at Jesse Brown. It takes about half an hour. Some people it might take 35 minutes, some people less. And then within 30 days of that enrollment, those IIT engineers follow up with the veteran to arrange a date and time to bring the equipment to your home, install it, and it's just on in the background. There's an off, low, medium, on high setting on that HEPA filter, and you can change how the sound that the filter makes is very low, and then they say it's 65 decibels on the highest end, which they say is slightly less than a vacuum cleaner. But there's a lot of different vacuum cleaners out there. I haven't heard the high setting. Okay. And then during the course of the study, there's 3 additional home visits where the engineers come in and take data off of those monitors for the study to analyze what's going on. And then there's 1 final visit back at Jesse Brown. Again, it's an exit, discharge, disenrollment visit, and it takes about a half an hour or less.
And then once again,
we also offer, for veterans who are smokers, we also offer help and assistance support for those who want to stop smoking. So this is a good time to think about, if you had thought about it, stop smoking, this is a good time to come to the VA. We will help you. We do have lozenges, patches, gum that will help our veterans to cease smoking. So if this is part of their health care plan, we encourage them also to come in so that we can support them with this.
And then once the study is over with, they get to keep the HEPA filter, I'm imagining, right?
That hasn't been decided yet. That has been talked about, but that would be a great bonus feature of the study. The outcome of the study, depending on what this shows, again, they would like to provide these kind of units to veterans as another form of treatment that's not medical.
And there's other studies out there, we said before, that have shown that the air filters, the right ones, actually do help health in a lot of different cases. Now, how far is that also, I guess, and with the importance of cleaning and dusting your home if you have a breathing problem?
I don't know about. I'm not sure about home maintenance and cleanliness in the home. I would imagine it does, but for actually eliminating or filtering out as many particulates in the air that could trigger COPD exacerbations, breathing issues, low oxygen levels, this would be a way of approaching that for someone with this condition.
So the study, in a nutshell, is they're trying to decrease COPD visits, improve oxygen levels for the patients, but then also trying to detect how far they can walk before they run out of breath, basically.
Yes, there's one component of the enrollment and discharge arm when you enroll. It's called a 6-minute walk test. However, that has not been a factor. We have veterans who have enrolled who are unable to walk or are unsteady, a fall risk. And we've still enrolled them. That should not, if someone with COPD wants to enroll in this study and is unable to walk, don't hesitate to call us. We're still going to enroll you if you have COPD.
And one other thing, Nancy, is COPD something that's you'll find mostly in a lot of older people, or can anybody in any age develop COPD?
Typically, if you're looking at someone with COPD, it's typically an older individual who, if you've been smoking and that's the cause of your COPD, they've been smoking a while. So most of the enrollees are 60 and older. I think there might have been one in their late 50s, one or two, but typically it's a mature adult kind of onset illness.
Natalina, anything you want to add?
Well, we do know that environmental factors are a good has impacted many of your listening audience and the country with problems with breathing. We do know in certain communities there are efforts to clean up those communities of certain environmental factors that has caused breathing issue, in the community. And so this is just one fabulous program that the VA has vested in to help our veterans to improve their lifestyle and to improve their medical care. And a study is the first step towards helping to find out the reasons for these and then supporting our veterans who may be affected, by this illness.
Adelina Marshall, Nancy Carpin, thank you for your time. Once again, veterans, if you wanted to be in this program, call Nancy Carpin at 224-817-3602. That's 224-817-3602.
Bravo.
Thank
what
you
a
so
great
much.
show. Great resource and information show that's well needed. Because, as you well know, my dad passed in April, and one of the underlying conditions was COPD.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's serious, and it's nothing to play with.
And veterans, you got to put down those cigarettes. I know a lot of us, I don't smoke, but a lot of people in the veteran community smoke cigarettes. You got to put them cigarettes down.
And my dad was a heavy smoker. Yeah. So please, thank you, Jesse Brown. Thank you, Jesse Brown, for doing all that you do on behalf of our veteran community. What great shows we had today, as always. And you are the best co-host we ever had, Mr. Sean Claiborne.
I try my best.
Holding it down. And to our digital media producer, Ivan Ortega of Scouts Honor Production. If you need your show to mimic the production of what we do here at America's Heroes Group, then I highly recommend that you call Ivan Ortega of Scouts Honor Production. His direct number is 773-671-4826. What digital media does now, live streaming, is gives you the direct exposure to help to get your product marketed and advertised to the market and the reach that you're looking for. So call Ivan. He's worth it. Please donate to America's Heroes Group, and we thank you once again. Sean, can you give the name of the person who donated?
Ms. Brown, thank you for your donation.
Yes, Gary, Indiana. Thank you, Ms. Brown, for understanding what we do here every Saturday. We all come in collectively and give. So donations are needed because it helps us bring to you all what we do every week. So thank you for that. Thank you to our live listening audience, Facebook, YouTube. Because of you, this is America's Heroes Group, because what we do is bring your voice to life. If you have any questions or concerns regarding America's Heroes Group, please feel free to call 312-803-2618. And we're located at 155 North Wacker Drive, Suite 4250. To Titus and our new technical producer, great job today. Thank you all. Have a safe, wonderful, and productive weekend. Blessings.